Good evening and welcome to the bulletin. In our top stories.
Tonight, DP William Ruto's pilot dies alongside 4 Americans in Turkana helicopter crash. And families decry police inaction that left 5 guards dead.
Vile mzee alikimbilia usalama kwenye police station ya Kilingili, basi nakafukuzwa na police station wakamwambia hapa ni Vihiga.
Plus, Dr. David Owor's house, or is it?
Why would Macharia be keeping her passport, my sister's ID, my sister's phone, and becomes inaccessible?
Woman's family demands house from controversial preacher. Also tonight, 7 or 20 billion shillings.
This is not small money. Pesa nyingi zaidi.
Treasury CS differs with the DP of a multi-billion shilling dam scandal.
NTV Tonight with Zainab Ismail.
And our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agondoa. Now, the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich has been summoned to appear at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters tomorrow over the alleged 21 billion shillings Aror and Kimwerer dams scandal. The Ministry's Planning and Expenditure on the 2 dams estimates that 20 billion shillings was paid out, contradicting claims by Deputy President William Ruto that only 7 billion shillings had been spent so far. NTV's Seth Olale reports on the contradictions and inconsistencies even within the cabinet.
National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich is the official of highest profile in President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration to be summoned by the Director of Criminal Investigations, George Kinoti, over graft. Rotich, who is key to investigations into the multi-billion shillings Aror and Kimwerer dam scandal, is required to record a statement at the DCI headquarters Tuesday morning. The Treasury CS, in a statement, illustrated how 19.8 billion shillings had been paid to different firms in the 2 projects on various dates at the end of last year. The amount estimated by the National Treasury is 1.2 billion shillings short of the 21 billion shillings the Directorate of Criminal Investigations is pursuing. According to the statement, Italian firm CMC di Ravenna was on 22nd December 2017 paid 4.3 billion shillings as an advance fee for the Aror Dam and a further 3.5 billion shillings for Kimwerer Dam on November 6, 2018, both at 15% of the contract's 28.5 billion shillings for Aror Dam and 23.1 billion shillings for Kimwerer. Treasury's figure for Amoror Dam differs by 100 million shillings from the one provided by Kerio Valley Development Authority, KVDA, in its advertisement last week. SACE Insurance Premium, an Italian government agency, received 11.2 billion shillings to cover 100% of the principal and interests against any potential financial risks. The 2 projects also cost a total of 546 million shillings as structuring fee, 360 million shillings commitment fee, and a further 3.5 million shillings as annual agency fee. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations already questioned KVDA Managing Director David Kimosop over the multi-billion shilling scandal. Detectives are also following the trail of 4 billion shillings believed to have been wired to Nairobi from Italy as kickbacks. Meanwhile, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi and other leaders demand that the investigating agencies are allowed to work without interference.
They are beginning to intimidate the president, let alone intimidate DCI, let alone intimidate AESCC. They are moving to the next level where they want to intimidate the president so that he can go slow on the fight against corruption.
We cannot be at the same government where we have put in place measures and machinery to ensure that we fight corruption, and then we become the same people who are supporting it.
Kuna kiongozi moja amesema kwamba vita ya ufisadi isikuwe ni yeye. Mimi ninataka kuuliza nani alikuwa amekutaja? Ama imekuwa ni yule mwizi kujijua mwenyewe kabla ya kutajwa?
The Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji, through a statement sent to Newsroom cautioning against misreporting on the scandal, has indeed confirmed that investigations are ongoing and is waiting for files from the DCI in order to take the next action. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi.
And to a developing story of politics and graft, Deputy President William Ruto and his allies are keeping up the heat on NASA leader Raila Odinga, accusing him of plotting to scuttle President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy through underhand means in the war on graft. The DP insisted that politics must be separated from the fight against corruption.
Let us prosecute the war against corruption using factual information. Why do people have a problem with that? Kwani you don't want the war against corruption to be fought on solid evidence. You want it to be fought on the basis of propaganda. Are you really genuine about the war against corruption, or you are after politics? Unasikia hata wengine wanauliza, what interest does the deputy president have in matters to do with dam construction? Really? Deputy President? What interest do I have? Of course I have interest. We have put it in the Jubilee Manifesto. Kama walikuwa wanataka majibu ndio hiyo. Tuendelee namna hiyo.
Vitu ya Jubilee ikianguka na ipikwe na watu wengine pamoja na huyo, mwenye kwenda hasara sio mimi, sio naibu wa rais, sio Kang'ata, sio nani. Sisi kwa Jubilee hatuna chama B na A. Sisi ni moja na mkubwa wetu ni Uhuru Kenyatta. Hasara ikitokea itaendea kwa Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta. Ndio ukiona mimi nimekuwa mkali, sio kwa sababu ya William Ruto, yeye sio rais wa saa hii. Mimi nakuwa mkali nikichunga Rais Uhuru Kenyatta kwa sababu sitaki mwaka 3 ikiisha ati ameenda nyumbani hakuna legacy yoyote, kwa sababu alifikiria tumeshikana pamoja, kumbe ile kushikana pamoja imekuja kuwa kuharibu ile legacy yake.
Kenyans are getting very angry. I can tell you this for a fact. Mkiharibu legacy ya Uhuru Kenyatta ya ufisadi, vita dhidi ya ufisadi, mjue wananchi wenyewe huenda wakajiamulia mambo haya.
Well, meanwhile, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has denied claims by a section of politicians that it was intentionally targeting people allied to Deputy President William Ruto in the fight against corruption. The commission insists it is an independent body answerable only to Parliament. It also says that it will not spare anyone in its ongoing purge on corruption. At the same time, the commission warned that its investigations could uncover other mega graft scandals that have cost the taxpayer billions of shillings. Aside from the dam's scandals, the EACC has also handed over to the Director of Public Prosecutions a file on the 4.8 billion shillings prison scandal.
Authority. We are just answerable to the Parliament.
And to a tragic story now, 5 people were killed after a chopper they were flying in crashed at Lobolo in Central Island National Park in Turkana County last night. The pilot, identified as Captain Mario Magonga, died alongside 4 other American passengers. NTV's Sharon Baranga has more details.
At Section 6 Estate in Kitale Town, the family of Captain Mario Magonga gathers to confront their pain. Mario was killed alongside 4 Americans when the chopper he was in crashed at Lobolo in Central Island National Park in Turkana County. The crash happened last night, some minutes past 8 o'clock. His family now left with fond memories of him.
Sasa kwa kweli mtoto ndiye alikuwa ananisaidia sana. Ingawa kuna mali nilikuwa nimenunua na hivi ndiye alikuwa anashughulika naye. Ndiye alikuwa matumaini yangu kwa kweli. Nikitaka kitu hawezi kununua mtoto yangu. Kwa shida. Sijui nitakuwa mama wa nani sasa.
It is reported that 2 choppers arrived at the Lobolo tented camp on Sunday. Turkana Deputy County Commissioner says that the tourists were set to travel on Monday to Central Island that is about 75 kilometers from the shores of Lake Turkana. The 45-year-old pilot now leaves behind 3 children.
Mario was a very reserved kind of a person. He took his work seriously, and he did not involve us, the family, in the work that he was doing. I think because he realized it was a bit sensitive, and we're just shocked. We're shocked.
The wreckage of the helicopter and the bodies were found early today. Investigations are ongoing to determine the cause of the accident. Mario was also Deputy President William Ruto's pilot. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
And our deepest condolences to the families of those who lost their lives yesterday night on that tragic accident. Now, tonight, it is emerging that one of the night guards slain at the Kilingili Trading Center in Vihiga County alerted police at the nearby Kilingili police station that they were under attack. But the officers he found on duty allegedly declined to respond, saying the trading center was not within their area of operation. Okukusa returned to Kilingili and spoke with some of the bereaved families.
We go to Lwanaswa village in Kakamega County at 11 a.m. First stop, the homestead of 70-year-old Thomas Minao, one of the 5 guards brutally murdered at Kilingili Trading Center. Thomas is actually the guard said to have managed to run to the nearby Kilingili police station to report that they were under attack. His family is livid.
Afukuzwe na police station Kilingili, alafu tena arudi kwa magaidi wamalize hivi. Alikuwa anajaribu njia ya kujiokoa. So mambo hayo imetutia huzuni sana.
His sons claims that the old man had spoken of death threats 3 days before he was killed.
Huyo ndio suspect ambaye anatakana akuwe wa kwanza kushikwa, na I'm sure that huyu mtu atatambua hao watu. Ni kama ana combine na magaidi.
Thomas was a staunch member of Israel Nineveh Church. He has left behind a widow, Orba Minau, who is yet to come to terms with her husband's death.
Mimi naomba munisaidie.
In less than a kilometer away, we find the family of John Ondachi, grieving. John too perished in the horrendous killings. He had worked as a night guard for 2 years. His brother Alex Ondachi, who was among the first people to arrive at the scene, told us that John's cell phone was ringing even at that moment.
He died with his hand holding the phone in the jacket, which was strange. They didn't steal anything. I think he was trying to remove it to call for help.
Alex and a host of bereaved families have expressed dissatisfaction with the pace of police investigations, wondering why detectives had not visited the victims' homes more than 24 hours after they were murdered. Now, from where I'm standing, on the left, those shops you're seeing right there are within Kakamega County, while the ones on my right, this side, are within Vihiga County. Now, policemen stationed at the nearby Kilingili police station, which is about 10 meters from here, claim, that is according to the residents here, that they can only handle cases that happen within Vihiga County, which is where the police station falls.
Na ule mkikuyu anaishi hapa, ataenda kuripoti Murang'a. Ule mkisia na ripoti hapa, ataenda kuripoti Kisii. Munandi mwenye anaishi hapa, yeye ataenda kuripoti Eldoret. Maana ya polisi kwa utumishi kwa wote ni gani?
But Sabatiao CPD Januarius Mwangi dismissed the claims as unfounded, even as he confirmed the transfer of a number of policemen led by the officer commanding the station. At Mbale Hospital, we found John Shiroha and Boaz Oleta, both aged 65, fighting for their lives. The 2 men were also attacked, but managed to escape alive. Some residents suspect that the killers, said to be 30 in number, were out to annihilate aged guards, since all the watchmen targeted during the heinous operation were above 60 years. Okukusa, NTV.
And the woman said to be Joseph Corey's mistress Judy Wangui and taxi driver Michael Githai pleaded not guilty to charges of the murder of Mary Wamboi Kamangara. The two are to remain in custody for another 14 days pending the bail terms hearing scheduled for March 18th. The pre-trial conference of the case has been set for July 30th, and the hearing of the case is for October 7th and 8th of this year. The duo, who denied having murdered Wamboi on the night of 26th and 27th of January, have already spent a month in custody. Corey was released last week, and he even attended his wife's funeral. Now, nurses who seek to work under either the national or county governments will no longer be employed on permanent terms. A summit meeting bringing together the top brass of both levels of government resolved that nurses who did not report to work as from 15th of February as it had been communicated earlier should face disciplinary action. Kennedy Murray reports from Kirinyaga County.
The rising number of strikes in the country have led the national government to rethink its efforts in taming them. It is a fresh round of tough talks, and this time the guns are trained on nurses that did not report to work on the 15th of February as required.
Disciplinary proceedings be instituted in accordance with the existing regulations by both levels of government, where nurses fail to report on duty.
After a consultative meeting between governors and the national government, at the Sagana State Lodge, there was a resolve to make sure that nurses do not use civil unrest to twist the government.
At any vacancies for recruitment of nurses arising from normal attrition be filled on contract terms. The Public Service Commission will develop a standardized contract framework for engagement of the health sector staff, including their terms and conditions. The SRC input will be incorporated.
Industrial action by certain cadre of the public healthcare workers at county levels is an issue of profound public interest across the Republic, as it affects service delivery, even in national healthcare institutions as well.
President Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto hailed the county government's efforts in improving the country's health sector and pledged to support them.
The issues of perennial industrial action must be comprehensively addressed and resolved so as to maintain public confidence in our healthcare system, as well as fostering stable service delivery to all wananchi.
For the first time, we were told there was a cesarean section for the first time in the history of Kenya in Mandera. For the first time, there was a surgery done in Mombasa County on matters to do with cancer. For the first time, we were told there was a brain surgery in Embu. That is clearly to demonstrate that matters health, with all the challenges, are being managed as it should by county governments.
Governors are expected to deal with this issue comprehensively at the devolution conference that officially starts Tuesday. Kennedy Murezi, NTV in Kirinyaga County.
Now, self-proclaimed prophet Dr. David Awor may be in trouble after a woman's family accused him and his church of brainwashing their kin and taking away her property. The family of Jane Muthoni Njagi, an advocate, says she cut off ties with the family after joining the church. And as Ken Mijungo reports, the family is now attempting to repossess some of their properties.
Jane Muthoni Njagi walks into her compound, her home and her property after what she considers her first days of freedom in as many days. Her family claims she has been imprisoned at her own home. Jane, an advocate, was a partner in one of the leading law firms in town. She, however, had suddenly cut ties with her family. She's said to have joined Dr. Awor's church in 2004.
Stop intimidating us.
And by 2010, the family says she had completely been immersed into the ministry. The family also accuses the church of taking away her property.
We are finding it very strange. My sister wants to reclaim her property because it's her right. We are even wondering why the church is involved, because this is a private entity.
Alice Njagi, one of her family members, says the ministry had even blocked them from seeing her at public functions. She was always surrounded by security, making it hard for the family to get through to her. The family says she was heavily guarded, that she was kept away from news of her mother's death. Today, the family showed up at her property in Riverside. The ministry that was occupying the premises had vacated on learning that the family was on their way there. But at the palatial Raptor Road Service Department, representatives of the ministry told the family that they had been given administrative rights and have since been managing the property.
By heaven's sake, would they even be calling a minor when the mother is alive? Financial decisions to buy the property, to maintain the property, how she wants the property handled, remains the prerogative of my sister. And if my sister appointed Lily Macharia, surely Lily Macharia does not have any experience of handling real estate.
In the compound were several high-end motor vehicles belonging to the ministry and Dr. Ward. The ministry representatives had in their possession the documents of ownership, from motor vehicle logbooks to land titles.
Why would Macharia be keeping her passport, my sister's ID, my sister's phone, and becomes inaccessible? If you come to the gate, the person who answers the query to be allowed access, it is she.
The family accuses the ministry of taking advantage of Muthoni, who they also claim is often put on drugs that cloud her judgment. They also claim she's forced to sign off huge amounts of money that the ministry uses to fund its jet-set life. The matter was reported to the Kabete police station. The police and officers from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations were here too to oversee the process of recovering some of the property. This, however, did not happen, as investigations into the allegations are still ongoing. Ken Mijungu, NTV.
All right, and that report there by Ken Mijungu will be taking us on a very short break, but you do not want to miss the second in a week-long series of the Handshake Special, 1 year on. Let's take a break.
I told you to kick it more to the left.
alongside two police officers of killing her husband, will have to spend 9 more days in police custody as police tighten investigations into the murder. Lawyer Robert Chesang was shot dead at their home in Lukenya, Machakos County. NTV's Sharon Baranga reports.
Robert Chesang, a city lawyer aged 45, was shot dead in his house on the 17th of February. Police say 2 armed gunmen went to the estate in Lukenya and tied up the estate watchman before heading to Chesang's house. They opened fire after knocking on his door. He was home alone at the time of the attack. Nothing was taken from the home. His wife, Nyeri-based magistrate Pauline Omungala, was arrested last evening alongside 3 other people, among them 2 police officers, and who today appeared before Principal Magistrate Elvis Mitheka at Mavoko Law Courts to answer for Chesang's murder.
I'm inclined to allow the application to have the respondents detained, if only to give the investigators an opportunity to conduct investigations without interference from the respondents.
Through her lawyer, Asa Nyakundi, she had sought to be released on bond so as to take care of their 2 children aged 8 and 5 years. But her request was denied. Others arrested are Sergeant Richard Lorunyei of Riruta Police Station, Lawrence Lempesi, a retired senior police officer from Baragoi, Samburu, Peter Mbithi, attached to the Mutuine police post, and Geoffrey Angoria, who is believed to have been the driver. The case will be mentioned on the 12th of March. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Now, on the Friday of March 9th, 2018, will go down in the history books as the day political foes turned brothers, and the handshake that sealed that brotherhood brought much needed calm after a dark storm. In the days after, the 2 gentlemen embraced and vowed to make peace for the sake of the nation. Much has changed in the political sphere, with Kenyans not just feeling the breeze of calm that lingers, but also witnessing an unfamiliar sense of harmony among the political class. Leila Mohammed looks back at the handshake 1 year on and the goodies that it has brought to those concerned.
The events that led to the now famous handshake at the steps of Harambee House last year are still a mystery, but the events that have unfolded in the last 1 year have been nothing but revealing a newfound brotherhood, which those closer to President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga would describe as a friends with benefits situation. 9 months after the handshake, what was considered unthinkable happened. In December, Uhuru Kenyatta, his deputy William Ruto, and an entourage of Jubilee Party and national government leaders made what many consider a historic visit to Luo Nyanza. The rousing reception for the head of state would have been impossible before the handshake. Due to the tensions in certain parts of the country following a disputed election that had divided the nation. Though the main agenda was to unveil the universal health coverage plan that was being piloted in a few counties across the country, the politics of embracing forgiveness, moving forward as one people, and the gospel of inclusivity was very much dominant as well.
Mumeona baba akisema ya kwamba handshake sio ya kurudi nyuma, ni kusonga mbele.
While the handshake eased the political and business atmosphere of the country, bringing back investor confidence to Kenya, Raila Odinga would soon add another feather to his cap, this time as an AU Special Envoy for Infrastructure. An appointment that insiders at Addis Ababa say was lobbied by 5 African heads of state. President Kenyatta later revealing that the seal of Raila's approval at the African stage was the March 9th handshake.
Congratulations. Thank you, brother. You are leading.
The spirit of the brotherhood has seen the ODM leader feature prominently in national events. The presence of 3 key NASA leaders at the Bukhungu Stadium on October 20th, 2018, hailed as a positive step towards national conciliation. Before the handshake, the opposition leaders would skip such events.
Viongozi ambayo wanafikiria siasa ni ukubwa.
Perhaps the handshake could not have come at a better time for some within the ODM fold.
Gavana wenu ni Zuzu, mwambie shule ni bure. Mimi wacha niwe Zuzu lakini nitatetea watu wangu.
Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, who had clashed openly in several occasions with the head of state, barring the hatchet in the spirit of the handshake much to his benefit. In the run-up to the election, Joho had had a brush with the police at the Nyali Bridge as he tried to access a presidential function that ideally he should have hosted, but had been declared persona non grata over his utterances towards the presidency.
Mnaniambia tu, sio lazima. Mimi nitaenda ofisi yangu boss.
Months after his clearing and forwarding yard in Mombasa had been shut down, the Mombasa governor received the approval to continue with his business that had earlier been under government scrutiny and subject to investigations. While the coming together and show of unity between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta might have rubbed some of the allies wrongly, both gentlemen received accolades and defense from unfamiliar quarters, with Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency being recognized as a legitimate one by members of the NASA coalition. Months earlier, the same political leaders had declared Kenyatta not their president.
Hata ndani ya Jubilee, kama kuna enemy handshake, Mheshimiwa Rais usiogope. Cast them aside so that the country can move forward.
We want to call for maximum respect for everybody, for all the leaders in this country.
Whoever will be opposing the handshake, that is the enemy of the people of Kenya.
The handshake spread its wings into the August House. For the first time, the leader of Majority Aden Duale and Minority Leader John Mbadi rallied their troops, urging them to support a joint push by their party principles that would see Kenyans pay 16% VAT on petroleum products, a move that was rejected by MPs from both sides. But even so, Kenyatta and Raila managed a small win when a revised bill seeking a reduction of the tax to 8% passed.
As a party or a coalition of parties, we are going to take a position, and I hope the MPs in general, including those from the Jubilee side, would support.
When I table the revised supplementary appropriation estimates that the House will consider,
the handshake will turn a year old in a few days, but for many it has been seen as a blessing. Political allies of both parties have been rewarded with government appointments.
Ndugu yetu Kalonzo hata yeye pia atusaidie kuingine upande mwingine kulete amani.
While at his father's funeral, Wiper and NASA principal Kalonzo Musyoka offered to defend Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency and even avail his services.
Na mtu asiniulize maswali. Ukiniuliza utaniona.
In November 2018, Musyoka was appointed Special Envoy for Peace as the new head of the Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission in South Sudan. Machakos gubernatorial candidate Wavinya Ndeti, who lost the fight for the seat at the highest court in the land, is now chairperson of the governing council of the Kenya Water Institute, where she will serve for a period of 3 years. President Kenyatta has also, besides his Big Four agenda, declared his fight against corruption, once his political rivals, NASA politicians, have echoed their leaders' call to join the war against corruption.
Blink and lose this war against corruption, your legacy will be destroyed forever.
This country must move away from the vacuous talk on the handshake and on to action.
With a year gone, Kenyans can only hope that an improved economy, affordable way of life, access to basic services, and a future free of constant political tension every 5 years will be among the goodies they will keep receiving from the post-handshake basket. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
Right, and that was the second of a week-long series on the handshake specialist, so you don't want to miss NTV tonight for the next 1 week, and of course keep watching every day. We're going to take a very short break, but Julian's Amboko will be bringing you all the day's business stories.
You're just in time for your daily look at the world of business. Welcome, I am Julian Amboko. Sugarcane farmers are counting down to Monday next week when stakeholders in the sector and senior government officials will convene for a meeting to address issues bedeviling the sector. NASA leader Raila Odinga is expected to lead the meeting in Kisumu a few days after the government began settling the arrears of over 10,000 farmers. Raila said the meeting will relook pricing mechanisms, review the contentious import rules, taxation structures, and deliberate on the fate of the troubled state-owned millers. The meeting will also forge a way forward on the suspended public engagements on the government-initiated Sugar Task Force.
An agreement has been reached that a permanent solution must be found to this problem, which is basically to privatize. And how do we privatize? How do you bring in a strategic partner that will partner with the national government and also with the county government so that this matter can be resolved permanently?
We have very few sitting. That is public participation and validation. 3 stages to come to an end that can be done in less than 2 weeks.
And away from matters sugar, businesses in Uganda and Rwanda are counting losses running into millions of shillings as the week-long border closures and tensions between the two countries continue boiling. Victor Kiprop now examines the ongoing trade row and the potential risks it poses to East Africa's integration dream.
About 5 days since Rwanda first blocked Ugandan trucks from entering its borders at the Gatuna border post, Kigali, Kampala and the entire East African region by extension are starting to feel the real impact of the impasse. As at Saturday evening, at least 105 trucks, including 49 from Uganda, 37 from Kenya, 10 from Rwanda and 9 from Burundi, many of which were carrying perishables, were still stuck at the Gatuna border post. At the Kianika border point, traders reported that tariffs had been doubled up, with one truck now being cleared for 400,000 Rwandese francs, equivalent to 44,500 shillings, up from 200,000 francs, while clearing maize was now 150,000 francs more. As a result, sources around Kigali indicate that prices of basic commodities have already started rising as the capital grapples with a biting shortage of the goods. On a normal day, between 300 and 400 vehicles enter Rwanda via the Gatuna border, carrying household items, food, minerals, beverages, construction materials and other manufactured goods, part of the reason Uganda raked in $197 million from exports to Uganda in 2018. Rwanda, on the other hand, only managed $20 million worth of exports to Uganda. On Sunday, Uganda said it was considering petitioning the East African Community Secretariat to challenge what it perceives as economic sabotage by Rwanda against the regional bloc's guidelines, which advocate for free movement of goods, people, labor and services within the EAC. Uganda and Rwanda are some of the EAC's most active partners, and experts now say the deteriorating relations deals a major blow to the bloc's dream to become an economically and politically united region. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
And back home, the National Social Security Fund is embracing a cashless payment option for its remittances from the public as a way of boosting the level of savings for retirement. The fund has partnered with Safaricom to enable members to pay for their social security via M-Pesa. Alex Mwangi with the details.
In 2017, the National Social Security Fund collected 13.6 billion shillings, up 5.3% from the 12.9 billion shillings collected the previous year. That amount is expected to go up by a wider margin for 2019 if the public latches on to the idea of cashless payment to the fund, which has now been made possible.
The informal sector has been looking for one of the challenges that they face in terms of contribution is you want to contribute 100 shillings, but you have to get on a bus and pay 50 to come and pay 100.
The pay bill number is 333300 and you make your contribution. This means that a lot of people who hitherto are not making contributions to NSSF can now do so.
Through the partnership, Employers with 20 employees or less will be able to make their staff contributions through M-Pesa.
The pay bill number today will free up congestion within our banking halls.
Roping in the informal sector onto formal financial platforms has proved problematic, and it is hoped that the partnership between NSSF and Safaricom will help make it easier to save for retirement. Mobile payments have emerged as the most popular mode of cashless payments, with data from the central bank showing almost 9 of every 10 cashless payments in the country were on the mobile phone as of December 2018. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
Quite some good news there on remittances towards a retirement safety net. And moving on, growth of credit to the private sector slowed down to a 9-month low in December 2018, with contraction reported in agriculture, transport and mining sectors. According to the latest data from the Central Bank of Kenya, private sector growth stood at 2.4% in December 2018, down from 4.4% in the preceding month. This slowdown presents a worrying trend for the business environment, which had begun showing signs of rebounding uptake of credit between April and November 2018, when credit growth accelerated from 2.1% to 4.4%. The latest data comes against the backdrop of a proposal to amend the low capping lending rates to allow banks to impose higher rates on risky borrowers. And moving on, a section of matatu owners and operators have weighed in on the move to decongest Nairobi City, submitting 19 proposals to the Nairobi County Government. The lobby group, identified as the National Confederation of Matatu Transporters, submitted the proposals in court seeking to settle the ongoing plans by the government to block public service vehicles from accessing the city centre. The Confederation tabled a new strategy that proposes to scrap off double parking in areas such as Tom Mboya and Ronald Ngala streets. The group also wants the reduction in the number of vehicles entering the city from upcountry, with areas such as Kisumu assigned drop points outside the city. And that's it for the business news. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, a look at news from the court. 9 people are arraigned before a Migori High Court to answer to charges of killing 5 people from the same family in Nyangao village in Rongo sub-county last week of suspicion that they were involved in witchcraft. The accused are also said to have beaten up and seriously injured 4 others who are currently nursing injuries in hospital. They did not take plea and were remanded at the Migori GK prison as police conclude investigations. Elsewhere, the High Court in Nairobi has yet again deferred a plea taking by 4 suspects alleged to have murdered human rights activist Caroline Mwatha until a mental assessment report is ready. Justice Jesse Lasit said the accused, Michael Onchiri, Betty Akenyi, Richard Ramoya and Alexander Gitar will have to undergo a mental assessment to ascertain whether they are fit to stand trial. She directed the suspects to be brought to court on the 28th of March to take a plea. And former nominated Senator Joy Gwendo will now have to part with a 660,000 shillings fine or spend a year in jail after the High Court revised her sentence in a case where she pleaded guilty of stealing 1.7 million shillings. Gwendo appealed after she was sentenced to 2 years in prison by Chief Magistrate Douglas Ogoti on the 7th of December 2018. The High Court today said it was wrong for the trial magistrate to impose a jail term without the option of a fine. And finally, former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero claims the charge sheet in court accusing him of conspiracy to defraud the county of 213 million shillings is defective. Kidero, through his lawyer James Orengo, said the first count, as framed, relates to an offence that does not exist in law. Kidero was last year charged in court for authorizing payment to various companies for services not rendered, leading to the loss of millions of shillings at the county government between 2014 and 2016. And in other stories making headlines across our borders to Algeria, and assurances by the country's ailing president Abdelaziz Bouteflika to set early elections and not to serve a full term should he win in April appear to have not satisfied the thousands of demonstrators who have rallied against his candidacy. The youth, who have been at the forefront of street protests against his bid for a 5th term, kept up the protests, while opposition figures denounced the president's concessions as a sham.
Algerian President Bouteflika's campaign manager, Abdelghani Zalani, read a letter in which the president has pledged not to serve a full term if re-elected at April's polls.
I pledge to hold immediately after the presidential election an inclusive and independent national conference to debate, develop, adopt political, institutional, economic and social reforms to form the basis of the new system that will renovate Algeria.
The pledge follows huge protests against a bid to extend his 20 years in power. Sunday saw fresh demonstrations with protesters marching through the city of Algiers. Students in the Algerian capital and other cities also took to the streets over the weekend, calling for the ailing leader who suffered a stroke in 2013 and is rarely seen in public to ditch his candidacy for polls scheduled for April. So far, 6 other candidates have formally registered, including a retired General Ali Ghedri, who has promised to bring change to Algeria. 2 opposition parties, the Islamist Movement of Society for Peace and the Labour Party, have said they intend to boycott the elections.
All right, and that story there brings us to yet another short break. Ida Waringa, though, is on standby to bring you all the sporting action right after this break.
association with Nivea Dry Fresh Deodorants.
A very good Monday evening to you. I'm Ida Orenga. Let's get into the world of sport. And Team Kenya has finally set camp at Kigari Teachers Training College in Embu for residential training ahead of the 43rd IAAF World Cross Country Championship slated for March 30th in Denmark. The team that was selected during the National Cross Country Championships in Eldoret will camp in Embu for the next 3 weeks before they depart for Denmark, where they are expected to dominate the medal brackets. Kenya will be hunting for the elusive junior medals that they missed out in Kampala in 2017 as they only bagged bronze through Richard Kimunyan and Selifin Chespol in the women's category. In the senior category, though, defending champion Jeffrey Kamworor will be looking for a third title as the women seek to retain their title won in Kampala. Football now, and Kenyan Premier League champions Gor Mahia are scheduled to fly to Cairo, Egypt 6 days in advance of their penultimate Group D match of the CAF Confederation Cup against Zamalek next Sunday. Now, Kogalo dropped to second place with 6 points from 4 games after going down 1-0 away to Algeria's Ene Hussein Dey. Gor were denied what appeared to be a legitimate goal in the second half after Hussein Dey had taken the lead in the 10th minute. Shafiq Batambuze's header was disallowed for an infringement, but replays showed that the Hussein Dey keeper collided with a teammate instead. Football Kenya Federation has confirmed today that it will write to CAF to protest against poor officiating in that particular match. But as one former Kenyan international who played in both tiers of continental football tells us, it's the same script, just a different cast.
Now everybody's seeing what usually happens in the North African countries, because before, my friend, it was just worse than that. Yeah? We used to get frustrated right away from the airport. You arrive maybe in Egypt, you're going for a match, an international match, you arrive at the airport, there's nobody who is there to clear you, there's nobody who is there to pick you. By the time they come to clear you, it's around 6-7 hours later. And they take you to a substandard hotel. You will not complain. When you start complaining, they leave you there. At the end of the day, what do you expect? You just get in. Yeah? And that time, you're already tired. You didn't even get time to train. Yeah? It's already the evening, and then maybe the next day there's a match. So it was quite tough. You get to the match, and now that's where everything now goes haywire.
Quite the unfortunate situation there. All the best, though, to Kogalo. Let's move on. And sportsmen and women from 8 different sports in the country are set to benefit from the Olympic Solidarity Scholarships geared towards helping them qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. 2018 800 meters diamond trophy winner Emmanuel Korir, badminton's Mercy Joseph, swimmer Danilo Rosafio, and judo's Carlos Atieno will benefit from that scholarship. Also selected are Webster Lukosi from weightlifting, wrestler Mathayo Mahabila, as well as table tennis and shooting youngsters Brian Mutua and Gulraj Semi. The scholarships worth 12 million shillings are for the period that started January this year to the Olympics planned to start on July 24th, 2020 in Japan, or up until when the individual athletes fail in the qualification process. of uplifting the state of the local Kimbweni Stadium, while the excavator used by the governor 5 months ago during the groundbreaking is still abandoned at the pitch after molds of sand were dug up and dumped. As a result, over 20 teams, including school groups that were using the stadium, have been left without training and playing grounds. This despite the governor's promise that the stadium would be usable by December last year. The Nairobi County government approved a 700 million shillings budget in early 2018 for the construction and rehabilitation of 5 estate stadia, namely Dandora, Riruta, Kihimbweni, Jacaranda and Woodley. However, work has been abandoned in most due to reported non-payment of contractors by the county government. And finally, in our moment of the weekend, a controversial Italian striker Mario Balotelli once again found himself in the headlines on Sunday. Balotelli scored the opening goal of Marseille's Ligue 1 match against Saint Etienne with a spectacular overhead kick, but his celebration eclipsed the strike. The striker took celebrating with the fans to a whole new level by using his phone to post his goal celebration live to his 8.4 million Instagram followers.
Another wicked delivery, and it's a wicked finish from Mario Balotelli. He missed the first chance, but he takes that one. And time to take a selfie in celebration. His 4th goal in a Marseille shirt. And he does love playing here at the Velodrome. He had 2 in 2 games here as a Nice player.
NTV Sport in association with Nivea Dry Fresh Deodorants.
That thing where we celebrate goals as well.
But wait, how did he know he was actually going to score?
No, you know the thing is, they choreograph it up until the time that they're going to score. He did the same thing a few years ago where he scored and then he removed his jersey and he had a t-shirt written, really? Why always me? So Balotelli, just one and only.
I mean, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Ida. And well, that brings us to the end of our bulletin this hour. Many thanks for watching. Our sign language interpreter this evening was David Agondoa, but you do not want to continue actually stay tuned because